good weekend. I just want to kind of give, this is our last week of class. Next week we got our final exam. You do have your last exam 3 passed back to you in Canvas. If you go into your grade book, it's attached as a comment to the grade to that assignment. Has anyone not found it? Has anyone found it? Has anyone looked? Okay. And it was there? Okay, good. Because I did get a few, occasionally, because I do it by points, and then I convert that to percent in my head and enter it, and a couple people I was off by 10%, so they contacted me. We'll make those adjustments. So that's always a good reason to check back on it. I got a scanner that made it possible to sit and scan them in and then attach them all. It took a little extra time, but I thought it was worth getting at least everyone's exam back to them that way. I do have copies of the exam 3, so if you had questions about any that you missed that you wanted to go over, there's a couple copies up here you could take a look. Let's see, where are we? So we're in the last week. There is this module 8.5 and 8.6, and I'll just tell you on the final exam, there are 2 questions, one for each, one for the law of sines, one for the law of cosines. We're ending a little bit tighter than we did last semester. We actually had a little bit more time to do things and then get to the final. So what I'm going to do is, the final exam is 42 questions. Roughly a third of it is from exam 1, a third from exam 2, a third from exam 3, so that makes up the first 39 questions. What's 39 divided by 3? Is that 13? Yeah, that's 13. So 13 questions from each of the exams is how it works out. Then there's 3 last questions that come from this last section. For those of you who have been doing well, you'll probably go through this. Those of you who maybe are struggling a bit, it won't really be worth it so much to put your energies on this new stuff, learning this new stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it extra credit. It is beneficial when you get to calculus, and you'll use some of these. These are really solving any random triangles, so they're valuable. But if you do it, those will just count as extra. Okay, if you don't do them, no harm, no foul. I will take those questions off the exam, so they won't even be on the final. So the final will be 39 questions. It'll be basically a retest of test 1, 2, and 3 with 13 questions from each exam. Question or no? Okay. So you can focus on just reviewing stuff from test 1, 2, and 3 at this point, if you want. If you're feeling good about it and you want to pick up these, it's good. If you want to just focus on the exam now and then maybe after things are done, come back and look at law of sines and law of cosines. Again, it's not an incredibly difficult thing, but I don't know about you, but I found as a student sometimes you get to a place where just one more thing, that straw that broke the camel's back. It didn't have to be a big thing. But I've got some pretty good videos on it because we go over the same thing in my online course. So I don't know, it's about a 30 or 40 minute video. It will teach it to you. I think it's a good thing for you to do and I'm recording this, so I'll post this. It's a good thing to follow up on so that you're ready for calculus 1. It's not that this is all that calculus is about, but you'll use some of these things, especially if you're in engineering, because you're solving for the length of one side of the triangle on something that's not a right triangle. Typically, that's what this stuff's about. So it's valuable for you, but just to kind of reduce the stress and allow you to do the best that you can do on the final, on the grade for this course, now's a good time to start reviewing test 1, 2, and 3, because that's all the final will be. I don't want to, three random questions that really aren't going to make that much of a difference, except it might take a week of focus away from those other things. So that gives you this week and a little bit into next week, because Tuesday night is when our final is. Okay, and I have that information, triangles. I have that, the location and time of our final down here, and I'm going to look at what I have. So we're in Education Hall 117. Let's see, where are we? That's towards, that's that way. Let's see, where is that? South from this building. If I get my directions straight, which isn't always worked, but Education Building, it's where they have those solar panel things, and it's kind of 2 streets that go in front of it. And I got a little map here. Yeah, so here we are. Just come on down. Will be Education Lecture Hall. Probably on the first floor. I'm assuming 117. I haven't located that building, but should be enough room for all of us to take that final exam. The final exam, though, is not in the morning. It is in the evening, Tuesday, 7:10 to 9:10. It's because it's a common final, so all of the classes take it at that same time. That's why we can't use this class, because one of the other classes earlier in the, or no, there are no earlier in the day classes than us, later in the day evidently drew this as their class for that time. So we'll be over there. Okay. Let me see what we've got. So you've got all the resources from exam 1, 2, and 3. Additionally, combined final, let's see, reviews for final exam. I was doing kind of the same thing for my 210 class, and I couldn't remember which one I did what. So it does say 42 questions. Again, I'm going to take those 3 off, so it'll be 39. So we'll make some adjustments there. When you looked at, and when you look at the combined final, what you should see is basically, this one I cut down, I sort of shortened it down to what from chapter 1 you should really focus on. So it's not the full chapter 1 review, but it's what will be helpful for the final. And same thing for chapter 2, I did the same thing. So notice the numbering is kind of all over the place, but I chose questions from exam 2 that if you focus on just these questions, you will have enough content for the final. Again, try to, if you've been struggling on anything, now's the time you can make up for it. Remember, one of those do well on one of those 13 sections, right? 13 out of 13, that's 100%. That will replace the exam score for that one that you did the not so well on, okay? Or even if you did well on all of them, maybe your lowest was a 90. It could become 100%. So now the final still does count. There's been a few people that says, does that mean I've done well on everything? I'm satisfied with my grade. Do I not need to take the final? The final's still worth, I think, 20% of the grade. It's a big chunk. So if you don't take it, that becomes a 0, and what you thought was an A is now likely a C or maybe a B, okay? And if you've done well on them, you probably could just show up to the final without too much studying and still do well, right? So at least come or make arrangements. Now, since I did it for one student, typically we don't do it, but if you need to take it early, Thursday I'm gonna be in my office early, so that I could have a 2-hour time block. Again, I just put it so if I'm going to do it for one student, I should open it up to others. But let me know. Don't just show up Thursday and say, I'm here to take the final. Let me know. But if you need to, personally, I think it's probably better to have those few extra days to study. But if you've got a flight, especially a long-range flight that maybe you can't get it rearranged, we'll work with you, okay? But otherwise, Tuesday is our time. If you need additional time, the other thing I can do, again, they like you to take the final with your cohort there. I'm giving another common final Thursday night for my brief calculus class, 210. If you contact me and you need that, if those 2 extra days would help, or there's something else, because this time slot is not in your schedule, right? Your morning class, I could make it work Thursday evening. And I could give you the information of where that one's going to be. It's in this building. It's not in this room, even though the class is, but it's in a different classroom down here. Okay, So that's an option. If something happens, your car breaks down on the way Tuesday, and you know, so there's kind of, you've got a backup. Just let you know. So I'm giving an exam on Thursday. There's someone who's in my class on Thursday is going to take it with us, their class, their test with us on Tuesday. But basically, if you go through this one, and I will, sometimes I forget, I think I've got all the videos, and so solutions for exam number 1, because that's partly what I did, is I didn't have all the videos for all the review parts for question 1, so I said, let me get the review down to what's going to be on the final, basically, right? So then I got those questions, chose them out, kind of in a randomized order, and then I made videos for all of those. So it's kind of a study guide. Even if you maybe didn't do that homework, maybe you could watch me work through the questions and understand them enough. And then there's a section here on exam 2, and again, the same thing. Now I think exam 2, I did have quite a few videos. I'm gonna have to look at that because there's only 4 here. And I think there's more questions, so I'll make sure that all the videos are there. I think I've made additional videos since this time, so I'll move them so that you could just come to this page and it'll have everything you need. Okay, that's the goal. And then from exam 3, I know I had all the questions, and so these are all there. And then after exam 3, this is the stuff you're not gonna need to worry about, okay? So I'll leave them here, but I'll put this, I'll relabel this as optional. Okay, so it's kind of clear that this is the stuff that is optional. And it'll still be there, like again, if you want to kind of just focus on doing well in the final, I would suggest that. If you then want to maybe go and learn about law of sines and law of cosines, which are some really powerful things, especially that you'll be able to use in calculus, go back and review those. But you won't have to worry about being tested on it, but you do have access to some test-like questions that you can look at the solutions so that you can enter calculus with having a good feel for the full gamut of trigonometry that you're going to need. But yet I feel we've also tested you. If you've got this, you've got a good foundation that you'll be able to pick up anything you need. Okay. Any questions? Does that feel fair, good? Yes?
When are the homework assignments due? What date will be the last date?
The last date, well, I have to have grades posted. I think Monday after finals week, maybe sooner. It would be nice, I think it'd be best, anything that's on the homework before, if you could get it done by the, I mean, that's when it's going to be most beneficial for you. Remember, all you have to do is get to 80%, you'll get the full points. However, I will allow you, because sometimes once you've taken the final and you've gotten things done, you might have some free days. I'll allow you as long as you can. I'll do an update Sunday night at the end of finals week so that I can then post grades Monday morning. Okay, so you do have through that last weekend, which sometimes is helpful, right? Because you've gotten everything done. It's also helpful if you hadn't gone through the homework, it'll help you prepare for success in calculus. And that's really what we want to be able to, we want to see you be successful in this class, but we also want to see you be successful in the next. Okay. Especially. So we want you moving forward and feeling good about things. So is that good? Kind of, but don't contact me like 5 p.m. on Sunday. Well, how late Sunday do we have? It's like sometime Sunday night. So try to get it done by maybe noon Sunday. As a, if you're a person who needs a deadline, I'm not going to, at noon Sundays, okay, let me go pull them up. I'll wait till just before I go to bed is when I do these things. That's sort of the last thing. But at the same time, I do get people, I need a few more hours. So don't worry about that. That's the extension. Okay, so if you need any more time to get those done. For points, that's there. But again, even after that deadline, you could still go back and work on them for your own benefit and understanding. Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and start. Again, this is a good review. It's appropriate, the combined final review here. This is, oh, the other thing I forgot to tell you is there are, let's see, I think it's on the last page. There's formulas, some trig formulas provided. So this sheet here with a few of the, law of sines, which we're not going to be on there. Law of cosines is not going to be on there. But those are the last two, so that doesn't help. But it does have a few extra formulas. These are the Pythagorean formulas and the reciprocal identities, which I think we had slightly before that. And then there's a copy of the unit circle. Okay. I think I have one, but it's posted on how to create a unit circle. And that again is a valuable thing, because what's going to happen, you'll go into calculus, you won't have this all memorized, but when you do calculus problems that have trig in it, they're going to expect you to know most of these things. So I have a video, I'll make sure it's in there. If not, I'll post it. But if you'll notice, the unit circle, they're all divided by 2, so they're all a fraction. These values here, there's 1/2 and square root of 3/2. Those are the only 2 values we have. And if you remember, I guess square root of 2/2. And it goes 1, 2, 3, and this one goes 1, 2, 3. So the video shows you how, just if you could count 1, 2, 3, and then sort of remember the formatting, that they're all fractions over 2, and then they're square roots, you'll be able to recreate this, which then comes over here, and the x coordinate's negative, but the y coordinate's positive, and you'll be able to recreate this from scratch anywhere you are. Okay, and that's going to be helpful again when you get to calculus, because they're going to ask you, you're going to have a problem where the solution is maybe like the cosine of 30 degrees. Well, they don't want you to write just the cosine of 30 degrees, they want the exact value. And if you plug it into your computer or your calculator, you get a decimal value, but you won't get the exact value, and a lot of times the software or whatever, they want the exact value. So you'll be able to get those exact values. Okay. So this is here. Again, we don't need it as much because those parts aren't going to be on there, but it'll be sort of the same format, multiple choice, and remember, 39 questions, 13 for each of the previous exams. And there's just not enough material in my book to warrant having you do that. I always, at Oregon State, we called this dead week, because that was the week before finals exam. There wasn't supposed to be, certainly they're not supposed to be any exams, but there shouldn't also be, at least that was our understanding, the week before finals was really dead week. Sometimes there wasn't even class. It was a week to study to get ready for them. So I'll be here for you, so we will have class on Thursday if you want to come, again, to answer questions, but no new material. All right. Anything else? Cool. So let's rock and roll. Let's do well on that final. And again, you can don't worry about the past, but also go back and review any of that stuff. But focus on this review. Will have everything you need to be successful in that final. And again, skip these last few ones, but they might be good next week after finals. That week when I have no classes, nothing to do. What do I do with my life? Well, do a few trig problems. Okay. All right. Thanks.